Hello everyone, and welcome to another video with me, Berets, as we continue on the global streak of making videos to help people. Hey, why not? And today we're going to be talking about team composition. There's a lot of people who have talked endlessly about statistics and weapons and all kinds of stuff, but in this game, there is something to be said for using a team over and over and over again. In this game, repeated stuff is rewarded. You have to repeat farming story for awakening materials, job awakening materials. You have to farm for awakening materials. You have to do a lot of stuff over and over for a while. The beginning of War of the Visions is really about building your characters and building your team. And once you get to that point, once you get to the point where JP is, we are starting to finally see like really difficult content. And so use this time in global, think about what characters you want, and build your teams appropriately, and they will serve you well in the long run. So let's talk about team building. Because yes, good weapons, good draws, and lucky rolls will get you so far, but you also want to think about how you build your team. For instance, as I've said before and shown off, this is my main team. It consists of Ayaka, Ramza, Mont, Victoria, as well as Christmas Ramada. Basically, a physical DPS team with a healer as well as a buffer and a tank. Mont is my tank and features some of the most important things for a tank to feature. The Lover's card. The Lover's card, which will basically aggro enemies towards him, which is good because he's the tanky character. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to take hits. Rams is my buffer, giving buffs to the entire party pretty easily, and therefore allowing others to hit hard. Ramada is a bit more of a glass cannon. She's actually a water version of Stern, to put it in an easy way for global players to understand, just so I don't have to do a whole review on her. She dishes out a lot of damage. And same with Victoria, the Dragoon on the far right, an ice-based character. Now what you can see about my team composition is, first of all, quite a few different elements. This has allowed me to accelerate my characters pretty darn quickly, minus dupes and shards, of course. By doing this, I haven't had to use a ton of awakening materials or have to worry about awakening materials other than rainbow rocks as well as UR orbs. Basically, having different elements has made it a little bit quicker to essentially have the awakening materials to awaken my team up faster. But when I was talking about character and team composition, the composition mechanics go quite far in this game. There's a lot of different stuff to think about. There's bravery stat, there's the faith stat, and there's the actual unit compatibility stat, which may be something that you didn't even know that was there. Basically, the longer a character fights on a specific team with other characters, the better the relationship that character has with those other characters, making a stronger team. As you can see, Ramsey here has fought for a good amount of time with Ketone, or Mont, or Venera, and Ayaka. All of these characters have had a long time. And they get bonuses from this too. It actually helps improve your character's stats, therefore making a stronger team. And so this is a really important thing to remember on global right now. Yes, I get it. The FF14 EX stages can be troublesome, annoying, and difficult for some people. And yeah, I get it. There's a lot of farming in this game. But the farming serves a big purpose. Not only are you earning job points, EXP, and gold, you're also earning character relationships. I'm sure that a lot of people out there have had to make decisions about what characters they want to put on their team versus what characters they do not want to put on their team. And potentially already planning to switch out characters with the Final Fantasy Tactics characters, or maybe future story characters. But that still doesn't mean that certain characters that you are keeping are not getting benefits from this. Engelbert with Ayaka is a strong composition, especially when they've been on a team for a long time. It just improves your performance. And to that extent, while building a composition it's hard to recommend what cards you should necessarily use. That's probably even an entire other video, since there's so much to talk about different types of cards. And when it comes to just different stuff about summons, for instance, those summons do depend on what type of character you have and what kind of damage they output. It depends on what type of enemies you have. But thankfully for summons, there is something rather important as well, which is summon compatibility. Your summons have the same compatibility with characters that your characters have with other characters, meaning that you can very easily just have characters that don't perform as well just because they haven't built an actual Esper bond yet. Take Ifrit, for example. I have put Ifrit on many different characters. There was a time period where he was on Christmas Ramada because it seemed like a generally good idea. Sure, Ramada is a strong character. Ifrit is a primarily a attack-based summon. Logical fit, right? Well, yes, it is to a certain extent. However, there are some things that you want to think about when you put your Esper on a specific character. Element is not one of them. As a matter of fact, Element is probably the last thing you should think of. Currently, I have my Fire summon with Victoria, who is an ice-based character. Why do I have this? Well, Ifrit is primarily a summon or a attack-up character, or he provides extra attack for my Victoria. He specializes in boosting piercing and shooting types, which is great news for Victoria, who is a Dragoon whose primary damage type is Pierce. In other words, they are a natural fit. They match both in terms of their damage capabilities as well as the damage types. The element is not important and should be the last thing you probably think about. There are some benefits to what you get out of casting an Esper in terms of elemental advantage, but overall, it has not been a super high priority, and I don't think it necessarily should be. So yes, when it comes to building your teams, you should think about multiple different types of teams. Eventually, for global, I get that you don't have a ton of characters. For instance, I have a farm team. This team is primarily of the characters that I'm trying to get the most job points for the quickest. And this is the team that I send out on story missions that I don't necessarily have in my main party, but that's because they're in training. Ketone, for example, is a character that I have plans of using quite a bit in the future. Not only her, but also Vanilla, or Vanessa. I'm not entirely sure what her English name will eventually be, and it doesn't really matter for the sake of this review. But either way, I am already currently building her, and there is an advantage that I have in making the secondary team in that she is already building compatibility with both her Esper as well as other characters that she will need to work with on my other team. Does it work perfectly? No. Is it a lot of grinding? Well, there's already a lot of grinding anyway in the game, so you might as well get more out of it. But yeah, when you're looking at what exactly your team is going to be composed of, realize that there are these bonds that you are forming while you are farming. Farming is serving more purposes than you realize. Not only that, but which Esper it is. And that's the point right now. You should be thinking about which Esper you have on which character. Espers are a big deal. There are a lot of different Espers in the game, each with their own types of killers, resistances, as well as damage ups. Each Esper has, for instance, let's take a look at Ifrit's job board for a second. Has extra evasion he can give to a character. He can give attack up to a character. He can give Aqua Killer. Okay, if I was fighting water-based enemies such as slimes, yes, this would be really, really great. But he also gives this piercing damage up, which is almost entirely more valuable for my Victoria. You have to make these decisions about what you want, but you should really take a look at what your Espers specialize in and match them to that character's damage type, not their elements. And the longer that they get to use it, the stronger they will be for it, making a really strong team composition. So yes, I understand that you are doing a lot of farming, and I'm sorry to tell you, but you're going to be doing a lot of farming for a while. After the actual initial character bout and more characters start coming to the game and you get those characters and you farm those characters up and farm their jobs up and farm their job points and everything like that, well, guess what? You're farming weapons, you're farming all kinds of different stuff. And then eventually you will hit the brick wall that is the tower. And boy oh boy, is it interesting. Either way, I hope this video gave you some knowledge into how to build your team and everything. I would like to go over cards a little bit more, but that's a lot of talking about a lot of different cards. So I think I'll save that for another video and keep this video relatively short for a change. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you next time.